Wow. That awkward moment when you realize Mikhail Grabovski can pull off crazier moves in overtime in real life than you can in video games? That deserves a hashtag OM Grabovski.
And then, yes, please do.
What a great goal. Dude. Crazy throwing waffles.
Woo. Who are you?
Optimus Prime.
OM Grabovski indeed. Leafs win 5-4 in overtime over the Montreal Canadiens. And it's kind of weird because I know they gave the Habs a point in letting it get to overtime, but there's something about an overtime win that's just better. Doesn't the pity point kind of, I don't know, cheapen it a bit? What about a point for if you make it to the shootout and lose, but if you lose in overtime, you just lost. Lost because you let in a regular goal. Like, it wasn't any of this penalty shot stuff. When I started shooting this video, I had no plans to talk about that. Like, people always ask me how much planning goes into these videos, and well, here, let me show you some notes I wrote down. Yeah. Now let me get this out of the way real quick because this is a happy video. The Leafs won in overtime. The Brian Gionta hit on James Reimer. Now, there's two kind of polar opposites to this. There's the fans that want Gionta's head because they think it was on purpose. And then there's a guy like Don Cherry who was like, you think he did that on purpose? Come on. No way he did that on purpose. You're Brian Gionta. You know the kind of guy. I mean, that wasn't verbatim. On the replay, you can't quite tell if he's looking at Reimer or if he's looking past him because he's trying to get through the little gap between him and Phaneuf. And he's coming in and he kind of, and I don't know if it's to squeak in, hit Reimer, or both. I kind of wonder if he leaned back a bit because he thought he'd make contact with Reimer. And if he doesn't do this, he'll just crash into the guy in front of him, which is Dion Phaneuf. Brian Gionta's 5'7", you do the math. So this is kind of weird. I don't think it was on purpose, but there's a possibility it was on purpose. He was on his way to doing something else, trying to get through, and on the way, he's like, and maybe a little bit of a bump. And what's great about that is, with the exception of the one goal he let in, Travis Moen, Reimer had a great period, some huge saves. Skip the rest of the game. And this is one of those situations where Leafs fans just get on Ron Wilson so hard when they're doing poorly, and never give him credit when they're doing well. I know a lot of fans aren't exactly loving Gustafsson right now, but that was a smart decision. Okay, we can let our starting goalie, who got nailed in the head and kind of has whiplash, play the rest of this game against Montreal, who's one of the dead last teams in the East right now, or we can sit him and hope for the best. They hoped for the best and it worked. Gustafsson wasn't great, won though, and as a result, James Reimer might play Monday or maybe the game after. I'm going to say hopefully the game after because the next game's against the Flyers and, well, they're crazy. But before that whole goalie change, the Leafs tied it up 1-1. Did you see who scored that goal?
I just had stacks.
And I'll never go back. Is this gonna happen every time he scores? Yes, it is. Shut your face. David stuck a little blip, little tiny tip, and it goes in. Second period, Kostitsyn blasts on an overcommitted Gustafsson, 2-1 Habs. Pretty much right after that, Josh Georges coughs up the puck. Phil Kessel says, what are you, stupid? Takes the puck, brings it in on Price, and a sniper. That puts the game at Jordan 2-2. Lyles to Phaneuf on the point. Carey Price just a little bit overcommitted, and Phaneuf blasts it. Dion smash! And let me tell you something about Dion Phaneuf. His 9 points ties him for most points by a defenseman in the NHL. Last season, it took Phaneuf 30 games to hit 9 points. This year, he's done it in 7. And because of the freak injury he suffered last season, that didn't come until January 20th. This season, he scored his 9th point on October 22nd. I know there's been some knocks on the Leafs having Phaneuf as their captain, but this is how a captain plays. Buck 27 into the third, Mike Camilleri comes in on Gustafsson, a little overcommitted once again, and Camilleri blasts it with a nice shot, 3-3. And then with Travis Moen giving the Habs a 4-3 lead with just about a half period to play in the game, the Leafs need something. Specifically, a goal. But where are they going to get it from? Steckel scored again in this game. I know back-to-back games, but he's not exactly a likely source. Phil Kessel scores. Well, he leads the league, so yeah. And Phaneuf scores just his second, but again, he's got 9 points in 7 games, so he's been in on at least that many goals. Someone else has got to start scoring. And that's what's been a little frustrating about this Leafs team so far, is there is literally a line called The Line, and they haven't really done much. Well, enter the line. MacArthur, Grabovski, Kuhlman all crash in the net, and they got Dion Phaneuf with them. Totally overwhelmed the Habs defense and Carey Price. There's a loose puck and Kuhlman buries it. Tied game. The line's kind of having some early season struggles, but they come up at a big time here. MacArthur's had a bit of a tough time adjusting. He didn't get to start the season on time because of the suspension. He was hurt, and he only has 1 assist in 4 games. And he didn't manage to pick up 1 of the 2 assists on this goal, but he was there. He was a part of it. And this line is what's going to give the Leafs success this season. You put all your attention on these guys, Kessel and Loop will start lighting it up. Uh-oh, we better cover those 2 instead. All right, well, Grabo, Kuhlman, and MacArthur will start lighting it up. The Leafs can't just have one line producing because there's no way you're going to win games consistently with that. And speaking of that line, did you see what happened in overtime? Why don't we just show you? I'll just show you. Pay no attention to the man behind the net. Belarusian pirouette! Ah! Watch that one more time, just one more time. Lyles to Grabo and Grabovski. 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 And against Montreal. So we talked about a lot of things in this video, but there's one issue I want to get to before we're done. Now, apparently, Reimer's fine. He may miss a game. But if in Gustafsson's next couple games he really struggles, do the Leafs look at another option? I'll stand by my defense of Gustafsson that he's not as bad as people think, but he's also... Now, within the system, the two options on the Marlies are Ben Scrivens and UC Runas. Runas hasn't let in a goal yet this season. He's also only played one game. Ben Scrivens' numbers aren't fantastic so far, but he is the Marlies starter, and dating back to last year, his body of work with the Marlies is very good. So then you got two more options. Look for a goalie that's unsigned, and at this point, how great is that guy going to be? Or make a deal. And as I've mentioned before, the Leafs, pressed right up against the salary cap. Again, 5-1-1 start. They've looked good so far, but with their situation in the lineup, something's got to give. A move has to happen, doesn't it? So that's my question to you, but at 5-1-1, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy for now. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, all that blah, blah, blah in the description box thing. Next up, Philly.